Call to order the Gurney Village Board meeting for May 17th, 2021. And Andy, roll call, please.
Garner. O'Brien.
Present.
Balmas.
Present.
Thorstensen.
Here.
Woodside.
Present.
Ross.
Here.
5 present, 1 absent.
You'd all stand with me to Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first item on the agenda for tonight is the approval of the consent agenda as presented. And is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Let's see who made the motion. Motion by Quinn O'Brien and second by Karen Thorstensen. Trustee Thorstensen. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Mutes, please read that into the agenda.
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the May 3rd, 2021 meeting. Item number 2, approval of request to dispose of certain police department documents as authorized by the State of Illinois Local Records Commission. Item number 3, approval of Engineering Division's recommendation to award the 2021 Concrete Sidewalk Replacement Program to Schroeder & Schroeder at a cost not to exceed $125,000, 2019 Joint Bid Consortium Program pricing. Item number 4, approval of request from Public Works Department to purchase 168 LED streetlight heads from the low bidder, City Electric Supply, at a cost of $122,739.12. Item number 5, approval of payroll for period ending May 7, 2021, in the amount of $853,396.32. Item number 6, approval of bills for period ending May 17, 2021, in the amount of $3,426,224.15.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee Ross. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
So under petitions and communications tonight, it's my joy to have the presentation of the Gurney Teachers of the Year Awards. And this is an opportunity that we have to recognize the teachers, and especially this year, I think that for administrators as well as the teachers, you've done an awesome job that I can't say enough. So I'd like to, I'll step down and invite first of all, Dr. Packett for Gurney School District 56 to start us off.
are, you deserve every award everyone can give. So, Eric, this is for you. Oh, sorry, Eric. Hey, how's that? State of Illinois.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
We get that all.
This is great. So, we thank you for everything.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Would you guys like to take a picture?
Sure. Thanks very much.
Next, invite down Dr. Casey from Woodland District 50.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lori Casey. I'm the superintendent of Woodland District 50, and it is my distinct pleasure tonight to be here with our teacher of the year, Elizabeth Garfield. I've known Joy for over 20 years. Our children grow up together. We've been at Woodland together. So I thought it was important to share. We have over 500 people that were nominated for this award, and we're looking at the winner from Woodland. So that's a huge accomplishment. And it came because this year, more than many other year, relationships were so important. And Joy is known for her relationships and relationships that she's built with children and with families. And normally I don't like to have notes in front of me, but I thought this was so important that you hear what some of the people that nominated her had to say. She's always happy, optimistic, and laughing. She has a positive attitude towards teaching and positivity spreads to her students. She's able to relate to us effortlessly. She understands the situations we may be facing, and she's empathetic about it. I feel safe and I feel comfortable when I'm in her Google Meets. She respects her students, and she's always asking for our input. She understands that we have thoughts and we have opinions, and she makes sure we're involved as much as possible with what's happening in our classroom. And then when we asked Joy to say a little bit about herself, she said, I love teaching 8th graders. They're at a crossroads in their lives, and I'd like to help them make good choices for themselves and teach them to work hard and be kind to other people, then I have done my job. I try to teach them through the eyes of history to leave this world a little better off than when they got there. I hope I'm doing that well. She's definitely doing that well. So congratulations, Joy.
So Joy, on behalf of the village of Gurnee, we give this plaque. Really thank you for all the hard work you've done. Representative Joyce Mason.
If I could just share, Joy, you had my daughter in class a number of years ago. And, no. And she is now a junior studying to be a teacher. And she wanted to be a teacher from when she was, 3 or something like that. But shortly after middle school, she changed and decided she wanted to teach middle school, much to everyone's horror. And she had a particularly hard year in that year. And you made that difference for her. So when I saw your name, you were the reason that she decided, because she said, when you're in middle school, there are the teachers that can embrace you when you're doing well and you're happy and family's good, everything's good. And then there are the teachers that care when you're struggling, and you are one of those teachers. So know that that's true when you're doing everything you can. And I'm so proud to give this to you. Thank you.
being selected by her peers for this award is obviously very appropriate, as both our students and staff know how powerful she is for our school. One thing I would like to say is about Robin is not only are the scores obviously for her AP students remarkable, but when you ask about why she does what she does with psychology, it all has to do with creating good thinkers in the world and people who are going to be understanding and be good people. So we're so honored tonight to recognize Robin Kubik, and please help me congratulate her.
Gurney, right with this plaque and say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it so much. Thanks. Trying every day. They got a big test on Thursday, so. I'm studying right now, so it's coming. Yes. And Robin, thank you for everything you do, and my family is well aware and has a very happy memory of your class as well. So thank you so much. And I'm pleased to present this from the state of Illinois. Congratulations. Thanks so much. Sorry. Thank you. Congratulations.
Three, two, one.
And again, I just want to thank the administrators again. They get, sometimes they don't get the Gurney Teacher of the Year award, but they definitely get the award. You don't know all the things that go on behind the scenes that they work hard on, so I really appreciate your dedication. So, thanks. Okay, so we have a report. The next report is a presentation by Ellie O'Brien. So, Brian?
Hi, good evening. It's nice to be with you all. I'm Allie O'Brien from College of Lake County. I also have two colleagues with me this evening, Dr. Richard Amon, our Dean of Engineering, Math, and Physical Sciences, and John Hardbarger, our Director of the new Advanced Technology Center that we're here to speak with you about. I do owe a special thank you to Ellen Dean. I know she's not with us this evening, but she has been extremely supportive and with us every step of the way of this project, and I just can't thank her enough. She's doing an amazing job. We're going to walk through a few of these topics with you this evening, and excited to share with you the vision of this new Advanced Technology Center. As it comes up here, you know, the Advanced Technology Center is not the first investment that the college has made in manufacturing training, but it is going to be the biggest and the boldest that we have made in quite a while. The vision of this center really helps us see the future potential this has to serve the county as a center of excellence, to be very responsive to industry and manufacturers in the area, and frankly serve as a catalyst for the local economy. We hope this center shifts perceptions around manufacturing also. The overall college vision that we hold is important as well, because it really does position us to be a solution provider to employers and businesses and municipalities. We see that there is a problem to solve for manufacturing in our county, and that's to create a higher volume of skilled talent pipeline for manufacturers to hire. We also want to serve employers by meeting a goal of, at minimum, serving them with 40% of their workforce need in that talent pipeline area. And due to limited capacity at the college right now, we're not able to hit that threshold. So that's our initial goal by opening this center, to hit the 40% mark for this area. We know that without a steady stream of high-quality talent, businesses are unable to grow thrive or be attracted to our county. We are looking to be a partner with municipalities like Gurnee and incorporate workforce development into your business attraction strategy. We can't wait for the ATC to be a key element in this partnership. And really, the why behind this project is important. So why are we building an advanced technology center? Well, manufacturing is a vital economic part of the engine across the county. We are the second largest manufacturing county in the state of Illinois, and that's based on GDP, $35 billion to be exact. Manufacturing contributes 27% of the county's gross domestic product and employs over 50,000 individuals in this area. So that's 1 in 7 jobs in Lake County relates to the manufacturing industry and sector. The other why, there is a critical shortage of skilled workers in Lake County and the surrounding region, and this shortage was confirmed when we brought a national organization in to conduct a study for us. We need to use a speed to launch strategy for this project to help fill the shortages immediately and keep Lake County competitive in the global economy. By investing in the college's infrastructure, we can more quickly provide a steady pipeline of trained and talented workers to meet the demand for skilled employment. We can keep Lake County strong by providing state-of-the-art training in high-skilled industries for this workforce talent pipeline, as well as serving the needs of existing workers across the county. So a few of the key figures to share with you about this project. You'll see that we will be taking the current space, which will take you through a full framework here in a moment, of the former Lowe's building on Grand Avenue in Rollins, from 142,000 to 182,000 square feet in the final phase of the project as it gets approved. We're really excited because we're hoping to add a mezzanine level in future phases and make it 2 stories. So in phase 1, we'll complete about 59,000 square feet of programming, and that leaves us a little over 120,000 square feet in future phases of the project. So what is that equivalent to? We love this graphic because there's 1, 2, 3.2 football fields that'll be under roof in the former Lowe's building. All right, now I'm going to ask Richard to talk a little bit about the programming.
As Dr. O'Brien had said, we're going to be bringing high-tech programming to the Lake County. These are just some of the programs you're going to find in our new facility: automation, robotics, mechatronics, advanced manufacturing, computer numerical control machining, CAD, industrial maintenance, which is a new program, mechanical engineering technology, and welding and fabrication. Now, the good news is we already have some of these programs throughout the district, but the great thing about our new facility is you're going to be able to bring all those under one roof, which is very exciting. But it's also going to provide us the ability to provide additional training in where manufacturing is going, kind of like where's the puck going to be? This is where manufacturing is going. We're going to be able to teach data analytics, CNC grinding, integrated advanced manufacturing, Industry 4.0, automation, et cetera. So it's going to be a catalyst to bring companies to Lake County and Gurnee, because we now have the ability to train workers in these fast and evolving landscape of manufacturing. Next slide. We're going to be building this based on a career pathway where we're going to have adult workers coming into our pipeline, secondary and post-secondary students from high school. They're going to be able to get credit in high school and then transfer that credit to the College of Lake County. There's going to be on and off ramps based on someone's interest in being able to take either short-term or long-term training. We're going to have apprenticeships and internships as part of this process, with the goal of leading to that associate degree, and then ultimately getting into the workforce, either if they do a short-term or long-term certificate. And then if they want, we're creating partnerships with our university partners to go on to get bachelor degrees as well. So the location of the facility, the Advanced Technology Center, is going to be on the corner of Grand Avenue and Rollins Road, the former Lowe's site. This is an overhead view of that facility, again, 142,000 square feet. And just one program alone is going to have well over 100 pieces of equipment just for one program alone. So you can see that we're going to be providing a lot of training in this facility. Next slide. This is an aerial view of the building. The idea is that we're going to have different sectors within the facility to provide different types of training. The green, which extends under the mezzanine, which is in kind of that purple, is going to be our advanced manufacturing, yellow welding, and then you can see a mezzanine area. Next slide. So you can see here on the first floor, we're going to have CNC advanced manufacturing, welding, and industrial maintenance. And in the mezzanine, we're going to have our automation, robotics, mechatronics, mechanical engineering, and industrial engineering programs. And if we could show that video.
The design challenge for the new College of Lake County Advanced Technology Center in Gurnee is threefold. First, the design needs to accommodate the very stringent space program requirements for a center of excellence in manufacturing workforce development. Second, these program requirements must be accommodated within the existing building envelope of a former big box store.
Can we get the volume up a little bit?
Open industrial feel of the space. And third, the center needs a wow space to energize potential students and Lake County businesses about the programs offered by visually connecting them to the activities. This solution organizes all the program functions around a central wedge-shaped atrium that functionally connects and acoustically separates the high bay machine floor functions and the two level spaces created to the west. When passing through one of the existing building entries, you are immediately met by this grand double-height, light-filled wedge-shaped atrium space that slices through the entire depth of the building. This is truly the heart of the building, visually and functionally connecting the users with the multiple diverse activities of the center. This space will act as a place for students to meet with faculty, study, socialize, and hang out. It can also be reconfigured for special events such as lectures, job fairs, and other gatherings. The building circulation surrounds the space on both levels to create a sense of community and connectedness with the student body. Perched above the atrium wedge will be the main conference seminar room that will have views out into the functional areas of the building and will serve multiple meeting and social functions. The atrium circulation branches out to the north and south into double-height spaces in the eastern portion of the building. Mezzanine walkways visually connect the building circulation with activities on the shop floors below. The exposed structure and infrastructure of the existing building is also maintained and celebrated within these spaces to enhance the open industrial feel of the space. The high bay spaces of the CNC, seen here, and in the welding program spaces are bisected by the tip of the wedge that provides access to these spaces while separating them for security and acoustics. The high bay welding area is a mirror image of the CNC space to the north, with support classrooms and labs tucked under the mezzanine. The final design for these spaces has a potential to be developed into the exciting, energy-filled spaces shown in these final photorealistic visualizations.
Well, thank you for letting us take you through kind of the forward vision. You know, that atrium holds so much potential to be an extremely vibrant location, not just for the College of Lake County. It is fully intended to be there for the community, for businesses, and for organizations in Gurnee. We're really excited about the potential it holds for events and trade shows and vendor shows, career fairs, job fairs. The list really does go on. And it, again, is there to be in partnership. I'm so glad that Dr. Algrim's still here. He's been a wonderful high school partner thinking through how this building will connect with K-12 and how we get families integrated also into the excitement. Next, these are not final, these are not approved by the village, but they do hopefully demonstrate the energy we hope to put in during phase one to transform this from the former Lowe's building into the College of Lake County Advanced Technology Center. That's really important to us. We're also taking great care with this project to consider our neighbors. We know there are residents next door to us, and we're very excited to meet them and collaborate with them as well. I'm hoping for a barbecue when the building opens and we can have everyone come in and visit. So. Finally, I'll leave you with this. We do see great opportunities for partnership with this project, and while we've made some significant initial investments as the college in purchasing the building, in hiring amazing talent like John and new faculty to expand our programs, and designing the space for phase one, we really have also committed to an active capital fundraising plan to help fund this initiative. What we know is that our minimum goal is 20% 50% of our construction costs for Phase 1 will be conducted under fundraising. And we are very interested, if you have recommendations for industry partners or professional organizations that you see benefiting from this project that you can connect us to or introduce us to, we're really looking for those partnerships because we know that to be successful, this will connect us with so many external partners out in the community. Also, the faster we hit our fundraising goal for Phase 1, the faster we enter into Phase 2, and we will bring so many more people into the site and into the village itself. So we're really excited to get as fast as we can to that Phase 2 moment. We also see a lot of planning opportunities with the community to connect to schools and youth organizations and the Park District and collaborate with entities such as that. And lastly, this is a really important growth moment for us to get better connected to the business community, and we have resourced and enhanced how we conduct our employer engagement at the college. So we really have set a future goal also to get a manufacturing alliance together that will help sustain this project well beyond these initial phases, because we know we're going to have to continually upgrade and update and innovate to be able to keep pace with this manufacturing industry. So I'll end there and just thank you. If you have any questions, we're happy to entertain. But again, we appreciate the partnership so much with the village, and we're happy to call Gurney our home for this project. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien. It just certainly welcome to the village, and we are excited too. So in any way that we can help, and I know that the village board shares my feelings as well in that, is that we look forward to great things coming from CLC. So
Great.
thanks again.
Thank you.
Next up is Finance Director Brian Gosnell for the COVID-19 financial update, number 15.
Good. All right, thank you, Mayor. As you said, this is the 15th update, and so far they've been getting better and better news as we go along here, so hopefully that continues. Expected duration, as everybody knows, we are officially in the bridge phase. That lasts for 28 days. And then, again, barring any significant increases in the COVID metrics, go to Phase 5 on June 11th. Status of the big three, all open with safety protocols, capacity limits, in conjunction with that guidance from the state. Financial standpoint, looking at general fund revenues. This is through the end of the year, so these are preliminary numbers. Obviously, there's still a few adjustments for the audit to be made, and we still have some expenses coming in related to last year. But general fund revenues finished the year almost $6.8 million behind last year. That's about 15.6%. And then since we are finished with the year, I wanted to also compare it to budget. 6.7 million behind budget, that's 15.5%. Up to now, we've always been using the comparison versus last year because they're so close. But I just, since we're at the end of the year, I wanted to also compare it to budget, what we thought. Originally, we had projected this to be 10 million down, or about 25%. That was back in October. At the last meeting, I had revised the projections to be about 7.4 million, and preliminarily finished 6.8, so doing very well. Big four versus last year, 7.3 million down, or 29.3%, and again versus budget just a little bit higher, about 7.5 million, or 29.8. We originally thought this would be around 9 million, revised those down to 7.4 and finished 7.3. So again, trending well as we went through the year. Sales tax finished the year, and these numbers are final; they won't change. 2.4 million, and as you can see, the last half of the year, 6 months or so here, obviously trended in a good direction. April receipts for the month of January were up 7.8%, and that's comparing apples to apples. When we get into May, which compares the sales for the months of February, that was actually fairly flat. It was 0.6% down. And then we'll start getting into some months where we're not comparing apples to apples. We're going COVID restrictions, heavy COVID restrictions versus where we're at now. So it'll start to get a little murky when we do comparisons. But amusement tax, exceeded sales tax, which we had anticipated it would. Almost 3 million down on the year, about 80%. And again, we still see that trend, obviously, as it opens up. It got better and better from 90% down to 56% for March activity here. Hotel tax finished the year 1.24 million down, about 66%. And again, as I was mentioning earlier, it's going to get kind of murky comparing year over year. This is one of the ones where we see that beginning. A 580% increase versus last March. As you know, last March was about halfway through the month is when we had the beginning of those COVID restrictions that were in place. We also see that with food and beverage tax, finished the year 600,000 down, and as you can see, the last 2 months, 15.6% up for the activity month of February, receipts in March. That was just straight gains there. And then when we get to March, it was up 50%. A little bit of that is because of the restrictions from last year. On the expenditure side, finished the year, again, we still have a few small expenditures coming in for the general fund. A lot of this stuff still out there is capital related, so we'll see those in a different fund. But we finished the year 4.6 million ahead of budget, so we saved about 10.9% in expenditures through the year. It's pretty close to where we thought we would be. Our original range was 3 to 5 million. Latest projection was 4.4. We saved a little bit more than that. That may come down to that 4.4 once we get those final expenditures in, but pretty close to 10% where we thought we'd save on the year. Obviously, the majority of that is personnel. Obviously, the changes that we made in personnel, keeping positions open, not filling positions, things like that, is what we had control over. Also, if you look at the very bottom there, other financing uses, that's related to rebate agreements. All of our rebate agreements are performance-based. Obviously, the performance was down, so we didn't pay out as much in those. So that's where that savings is. That 1.15 you see at the very bottom there. Overall, looking at fund balance, going in, originally estimated we'd use about 5 million. That's where we were. As we were creating the budget late last year, we had projections of about 2.9 million, and it looks like we are going to come in significantly better than that. Obviously, the last 4 or 5 months, especially on the sales tax side, were very good. Restrictions started loosening up a little bit more, and people started spending money. So we think we'll come in about 1 million. Again, that will increase a little bit as we finish the year with the expenditures here. But it's also important to note that that includes a $1.4 million CARES grant. So without that number would be obviously 2.5 million. And we did budget a deficit next year of 922,000. So it's certainly not out of the woods by any means. This is a multi-year impact here. So it's just going to hopefully lessen as we get into next year. American Rescue Plan, this is the bill that is sending some money to municipalities. The big change here was we can use this money to offset revenue losses. The latest update was some direction from the Treasury to the folks that are getting that the initial tranche of money, so states and larger municipalities. It was really what we expected, so no changes. That's a good thing. Our estimate is still 3.75. I believe the Treasury was starting to send out money to states, so the state should have that fairly quickly. And then they got 60 days, I think, to distribute it to municipalities. So odds are we could see half of that, because it'll be in 2 different tranches this year and next year. We could see half of that fairly quick here, and obviously that will go a long way to filling that $6.5 million gap that we had on the revenue side. But certainly something to look forward to, and we are following that closely. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Trustee Thorstensen?
Probably should have emailed you on this one, Brian, but just
Sure.
as a heads up, I'll give you a long intro to what I think about it. So the amusement tax, I know that's through March
Yep.
2021, and I know that combines all of, I'm sorry, I'm saying amusement, I meant hotel tax.
Hotel.
Sorry, hotel tax. So I know that's through March, and that combines all of our hotels.
Correct.
But with Great Wolf Lodge being the largest,
They seem very busy. So do we actually have an uplift from them, even though the others are kind of flat?
Yes, and if you look at, you see that in this March number here. Hang on, let me see if I can use this feature here. You see that 146, as you can see how that compares. That was a very good month for Great Wolf. So that is a sign, hopefully that carries into April, May, and we see that moving forward. But yes, definitely an uptick, and even an uptick from where they were pre-COVID.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
No old business?
Correct.
All right, on to new business. Approval of ordinance 2021,
33.
granting a special use permit for an electronic message board sign on property located at 325 Tri-State Parkway pursuant to the Gurnee zoning ordinance for Alec.
Yes, so you had a memo from our associate planner, Clara Gable, on this. Alec was before the Planning and Zoning Board on April 7th, requesting an electronic message board sign. The proposed sign is 8 feet tall, two-sided, 3.3 square feet of pin-mounted backlit Alec lettering, and then a 31.2 square feet worth of electronic message board. There were renderings in your packet. So the electronic message board portion is 3 feet 8 inches tall by 8 feet 8 feet 6 inches wide. They were aware of past concerns and regulations put on our two other electronic message board signs within the village of Gurnee. They were agreeable to those limitations. And after the PZB discussed it a little bit, they are forwarding a 5-to-1 favorable recommendation for the village board to consider.
So are there questions or a motion? Motion for trustee Thorstensen. We'll do it after the second. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, trustee Balmas. Discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Ross?
I just want to say that I'm totally against the electronic message board, and that if we go back to a little bit of history, the way we started this was when the high school teenagers wanted to donate as their class gift the message board, and they didn't find out that that wasn't allowed in the village, and so we gave them permission to have it, not thinking that it was going to be the precedent for anybody else who came in. And I think that the way the electronic messages are now, it's really not a monument sign anymore. It's really an advertising or a marketing sign, kind of like a big billboard. And I don't think it's appropriate for people driving in their cars to be seeing messages like that. So even though these restrictions are there, I think that the more we approve these, the harder it's going to be to say no when something even bigger comes in. And if you look at the one in front of the high school, it's considerably smaller than this one. So it just, I think you need to remember the history, and then I realize that the Plan Commission doesn't see a problem with it, but I still do.
Is there other discussion?
I don't disagree, but I guess it's the wave of the future. I don't like the whole LED things, but I haven't liked those in headlights either, so I guess the way the future is.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I just see the the restrictions providing a great deal of assistance for this, that it's not, I think we have a lot of examples around us that would make it make a lot of sense to turn it down, but in light of the restrictions, I think it makes sense. But I don't get to vote, so, hey. So we have there's a motion and a second, and discussion from trustee Thorstensen.
I mean, I know Cheryl and I differ on this opinion, but it's a beautiful building for, as we all agree. It always has been, but I think that this really just puts it, kind of wraps it up nicely. So I think it's a great monument. I'm really interested in it.
Can I say one more thing?
You certainly can.
To that point, it is a beautiful building, and they've been in business for 30 years, and they've been able to build a beautiful building without having a message board. And so I don't know that it's necessary to allow advertising, and when there's all kinds of ways of getting your message out besides somebody reading it as they're driving by. So I think that that's, to your point, that it is a beautiful building, kind of shows that they really don't need that.
Thanks. That's it. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Nay.
4 yes, 1 no.
Motion carries. Item number 2, approval of ordinance 2021. Vacating an alley from Belle Plaine Avenue to the village's eastern limits, north of Greenwood Avenue and south of Highland Avenue.
Sure, so I also had a memo from Claire Gabriel, associate planner on this. There is a alley currently platted from Belle Plaine Avenue east to our limits between Greenwood and Highland Avenues. It's an unapproved alley, and it has created some issues for residents in this stretch. I would like to perform improvements in their backyards because those improvements encroach into the rear yard setback that may come into play. So staff, the planning staff looked at multiple options to address this concern, and after, again, discussing them internally, what they came up with was vacating the alley, and then, since this is a village-initiated vacation, typically what happens when a resident comes in and requests that an alley is vacated, we charge them 25% of the appraised value of the area being vacated. In this case, it's an entire 2-block section that staff is initiating, not the homeowners themselves, so staff is recommending that we waive that fee this go around. The entire 2 blocks will probably be about $20,000. The alley is 16 feet wide, so people on the north, people on the south would each gain 8 feet of property in their backyard. This will take care of some of the setback issues, also helps bring these properties into more conformance based on their zoning and the size of the lots. When this proposal was brought forward as far as how to handle this, one of the first questions was, is there other areas in town where this is going to come into play? There's just one other section, which is south of this area, where we have a similar situation with the zoning, the lot size, and an unimproved alley. So at some point in time, that'll probably come forward before you as well. But as I said, to deal with this, staff is recommending it be vacated and then to waive the fee for returning the property owner to the homeowner, since this was staff initiated. So again, unimproved alley that we have no plans to ever build upon.
Thank you, Pat. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee O'Brien,
Second?
second by trustee Ross. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen. Woodside.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Item number 3, approval of ordinance 2021,
35.
approving a license and maintenance agreement for the use of village right-of-way between the Village of Gurney and Warren Cemetery Association.
Yeah, this is really a cleanup item. You had a memo from our acting public works director, Heather Galan, on this. So the Cemetery Road right-of-way that the village is responsible for actually goes north of Tri-State. You can see the second page of your packet here is a visual of that section of roadway. The cemetery has maintained that for a number of years, including mowing and snow removal during the wintertime. It's kind of been a handshake agreement. Looking to get that formalized in conjunction with the signage that is located right there at Cemetery and Tri-State that identifies the cemetery's entrance. So that's on village right-of-way. I should have an agreement in place as it relates to that signage. So worked with Attorney Winter and the cemetery to put together this agreement, which basically continues forward with what we've been doing. Cemetery would continue to take care of the roadway up there that goes into their entry in exchange for allowing that sign to exist on the right-of-way. So the agreement is 10 years in length, automatically renews. If that sign is in our way, the cemetery understands that they need to get that out of there so we can conduct any improvements that we need. But as I said, this has gone on for a number of years, and this is really just formalizing it, getting it on paper.
Thank you, Pat. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Balmas,
Second.
second by trustee Woodside. And roll call, please.
I have a question. Mayor Hood?
Question.
Oh, we had a question, I'm sorry.
Just a question. There are actually two signs there. One of them is a rock in the middle of the road. Do both have to be acknowledged in this?
Is-
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
There's actually two signs out there. One of them is the one in the corner that was referenced, but there's also a giant rock with a carving in the middle of the road. So do both signs have to be referenced, or maybe just put an S on that?
Well, I suppose we could bring it up to them and just kind of initial onto the existing agreement to document it. As of right now, it's everything within the limits of the right-of-way that this agreement covers. So therefore, if the rock is in the middle of the right-of-way, I would presume then that it's covered by the agreement. I don't know if Attorney Winter wants to weigh in on that.
The rock is in the middle of the road, though. So if we're approving the road, then we are approving the second sign.
I'll have to go and
We are approving the second sign.
I'll have to go and take a look at I was unaware of that rock that you're referring to, so I can run out there and take a look at it.
Do you want to tell them what it is?
I got a picture of it.
Passing evidence.
I think it's fine.
I mean, if the rock is up on the driveway where the cemetery is going to continue to maintain it, then that's going to be their responsibility.
Yeah.
Because that's under theirs. So we're not maintaining the cemetery signs. So all we're doing is giving them approval to be located on our right-of-way. So if it's within that yellow area, then I believe, and I'll look at Attorney Winter, that would be covered under this agreement.
Right, we do have the legal description here, so if it's in that legal description, we'd be okay.
Okay. Thank you. I just wasn't sure whether we had to add an S to that to make it legal.
And actually, I think there's more than one wood sign, right? There's two panels to that, so.
That's what I saw.
So that's something that administratively, this gives us enough guidance for the existing signs.
Okay. Yes,
Is
thank
that
you.
right, trustee O'Brien? Yep. All right, roll call.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside. Aye. Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
Motion carries. We now have item number 4. This was just by way of explanation. Normally, we would handle this on our meeting at the end of the month. However, the end of the month, we will not have a meeting for these type items, so it would actually not have happened until the end of June. So that's why we're having it tonight. So item number 4 is an informal review of the bridge development's proposal for approximately 576,000 square feet of industrial warehousing and 4 acres of commercial retail on property located south of Washington Street, west of Route 21, and east of the I-94 tollway. So this is informal, so no action will be taken tonight. It's just more information gathering and then questions from the board afterwards. So who would like to start? Mr.
Okay, if I
Rydell?
start?
You may start.
I'm Dan Rydell. I'm here with the gentleman from Bridge Development, and we are going to present you with our opinions, our design of what's going to go on our property, or at least we're intending to. I was hoping Pat Mush would have put me on the consent agenda, but I guess that didn't happen, so.
I don't control the agenda.
Nice try, yeah.
Anyway, so if you could turn that, or whoever, Dave's turn that, our sketch on, we can kind of go with it from there.
You want the new sketch? The most recent one?
Probably this is the first development site that we came up with, the plan, and that's been altered a number of different times. But potentially, you know, we've got 44 acres that are consisting of approximately 19 different pieces. The property is bordered by Washington Street on the north, Great America, Route 21 on the east, and the tollway ramp to the south. Interstate 94 west touching the Grand Tri-State Industrial Park at that point. Half the parcels are still in unincorporated Lake County and would have to be annexed to the village and zoned. The other half are currently zoned commercial office, commercial business. I think Dave O'Brien's house was a commercial business, and one residential home is still remaining. The exception on that corner is the gas station. The mobile gas station is not part of the transaction, but it's an expensive piece of property, just about as expensive as the gas they have there. Anyway, it's not going to be part of it. The other portion that we have is a mixed-use portion is in the front proposed development. It'll set directly behind, Dave, if you can switch that to the other development. This is the new the new design we've come up with. The mixed-use portion of the proposed development will set directly behind that gas station, if you can see it there on the corner, spreading from Washington Street to Route 21. Actually, we went over with the staff on some of these things, a little bit about what to do at Washington Street. These are big buildings, but we try to turn them around a number of different times, and this is the best we could do. We ended up with more commercial along Washington Street, and we ended up with approximately 10 acres. The original one you saw earlier had about 2 or 3 acres at that time. You know, the current plan we have there offers the best solutions we could to accommodate the opinions that we received or gathered up to this point. You know, moving forward, Bridge is not seeking any tax abatements, tax incentives, TIF districts, or any direct contributions from the village. The project sends no children to any of the schools, excepting maybe vocational schools at some point. They contribute significant tax revenues to all the schools. I won't go through those details, maybe I can leave that. You know, the project could employ 500 plus permanent employees and attract some major Fortune 500 companies. Bridge Development is committed to making a significant investment into the Gurnee community and serve as a catalyst and stimulus to our local economy while moving forward after a lengthy pandemic we've been through. So anyway, we're going to have Bridge Development say a few things. This is Nick Siegel and his partner.
This is more, that's what I
Few
was
comments.
Thank you. We're happy to be here, so thanks for your time. I'm Nick Siegel. I'm the Chicago Regional Partner, so I run the region for Bridge. The two folks that I've got with me on my end are Tony Perico, who's an equity partner in our company and our Chief Investment Officer, and Mark Hauser, who runs all of our entitlements for the region. And I think you can actually go on to the next slide. You can see the site plan in a little bit more detail. We're very excited about this plan. Obviously, there's an article that came out this morning that talked about what I presented in March and why that was, you know, maybe not as well received by the Plan Commission. I think this has evolved tremendously since that time. We've, you know, 1.5 times the amount of retail. We were showing 4 acres. We now have close to 10 acres of retail. The buildings are much more well screened, and the truck docks are much less visible on either Milwaukee or Washington. And I think this is something we're really excited about. We hope we can kind of find a compromise that works for the village. Tony's here just to kind of echo our sentiment of how badly we want to invest in Gurnee and how badly we want to do here, and kind of be a partner to the village and helping with the long-term vision of the site. And Mark is here as well to answer any questions on the details. But I think what we would love to get out of tonight more than anything is your feedback on how we can kind of continue to compromise and work together to come up with something that's beneficial for everybody.
Thank you. Did you have somebody else that was going to present, or would you like just questions from the board?
You know, we put together, you know, a tax analysis, forecasted jobs analysis. We have some renderings in there, some stuff about bridge. I think, you know, we've been kind of beating the drum on this project, and Dan has been doing a nice job of that for the last 60 days. I think everybody kind of knows who we are. If it's helpful for you, Tony can give a little high-level intro of that. But if not, I think it's probably most productive to open it up for questions in my mind.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's more likely the plan that people will have questions about as opposed to who you guys are. And I could be mistaken, but
So yeah, no, go ahead, Dan.
I just had a few other things with, you know, the specifics on that. I mean, these buildings are probably 250,000 square feet, right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
And, you know, the way we face this now, and there'll be a corral of trucks supposedly in between these properties, but these buildings, but they'll be screened on each end, and that, with one's facing the tollway, and the other one will be facing the commercial, industrial, or commercial site on the corner. So I think they've done everything possible here to screen any exposure to the trucking or shipping in and out of there. And, you know, are there some pictures of the buildings there, Dave?
That's an older rendering, but kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to be.
what I'll do is if I shift to, I'm going to ask each board member if they have a comment or a question, and then whoever you think's appropriate to answer that question, then that person could respond. So I'm going to start here with Trustee O'Brien. Do you have a comment or a question?
Thank you, and thank you. I appreciate that you're bringing this to town. And I up here have to represent the residents of Gurnee, and overwhelmingly, at least today, I'm seeing negative comments. It goes way against what was in the comp plan for this location. This is one of the few large parcels we have left to create a village center, if you will. And it seems incongruent with that plan. I know Dan and you guys worked wonderfully to change the angle of the big buildings, but they're still really big buildings. And if I'm looking at the rendering in the upper right-hand corner, it's just 4 tiny buildings is the retail. I know it's 10 acres, but a lot of that seems to be parking. So if I'm representing the residents of Gurnee, then I'd have to say it's not something that they would want us to vote on.
Okay, thanks, Trustee O'Brien. Trustee Thorstensen?
You answered one of my questions before I came here tonight, which is what changes did you make since you previewed the project or development with the PZB? And so I am glad that you were able to change the angle, so it wasn't the facing directly parallel to Washington, which had the incorrect frontage or view for the building. However, I too believe that there's little value to our residents, and seeing certainly a concern with the increased traffic. You've got 47 truck doors on one building and 54 on another. So I imagine they're going to be driving through town, maybe not all 101 at the same time. But I just don't see that this property site is the right one for any more semi-traffic through town. And I believe it was mentioned in the PZB notes by some of the members that certainly something over in the industrial park that has more direct access to the on and off ramps of 94 would be more advantageous. And additionally, so those trucks, I guess, is what really concerns me, because not only is it indirect or not directly associated 94, but we already have a lot of semis that come down from Wisconsin using 41 to Dilly's or Stern School, so a lot of other access roads. So, yeah, I don't think it's right for Gurnee in this property.
Trustee Ross?
I agree. And I really don't understand why you're here, because Mayor Kavarik told you it wouldn't work, the Plan Commission told you it wouldn't work, and it still doesn't work. So,
Tim, I think you talk a little bit about why we think we comply with the Plan Commission.
You know, we have, I understand the comprehensive plan, I understand the vision, you know, that everybody has. I keep hearing the word envision. We all have a different, you know, description of what an envision is, but what do we envision? And if we don't, I mean, we have these gentlemen here today. They have a major development they're bringing to the community. And the comp plan does say the plan has a clear vision for industrial development along I-94 and notes that large tracts of land should be reserved for industrial development, which can spur growth and jobs and a diverse tax base. You know, this is our comp plan that was just approved here 6 months ago.
so
The plan emphasizes the need to closely coordinate with various jurisdictions for effective industrial development and provide investors flexibility to meet the development demands of the marketplace and the demographic, lifestyle, and market conditions change over time. I mean, this just goes on and on about all the support that we need for industrial base and the taxes to our schools. And
is this the only development that you do? Is it this type?
We only do industrial development. We've partnered with other developers in the past to bring a retail or mixed-use component to our developments. We did it on a project in Itasca. As you know, and I get it, the industrial obviously dwarfs the size of the retail. I think this is well-sized. Each piece of this is well-sized to the market that it serves, and I would say the retail, 10 acres of retail is a lot of retail. There's obviously guys who do it. There's not, we don't believe, and we've brought a couple of retail brokers in the room tonight who work this market to talk about this. They helped us kind of design this plan for what we believe is feasible and can be brought to the village. It's our belief that 40 acres of retail is not necessarily feasible. So what we like about this plan was that it was a way to bring the right amount of retail and get the site into development now.
Well, then, what about a concert venue or someplace where the high school could use it so that they didn't have to go or have 4 different, some other kind of entertainment alongside Great America, a hotel or?
we've included a hotel potentially into this site. I understand that the village is, you know, had lots of dreams about this property, but the property didn't exist until somebody assembled it all. And now it's governed by opinion. But according to the comp plan, you know, we had a village center that they wanted to talk to me about. I mean, hockey domes, sports complexes, Top Golf. I mean, nothing ever materialized. In 40 years, this property's been standing there, you know, with potential. It's finally acquired because we have a top use for the property. We accommodated the design to allow for 10 acres of commercial or whatever other retail benefits we can get, which there's not a lot of retail out there. So I don't understand why this is such a poor improvement to this property. I mean, is it good to take this piece of property and set aside all the revenues and the impact it's going to bring to the community and all the restaurants and the stores in our community, and versus, well, let's wait 5 or 10 more years and let's see what happens, and then what? We lose that revenue that you would have had for 10 years, millions of dollars to the schools and to the community. So how can this not be a benefit to our community? No one's trying to abuse anything here, but then what do we want? Nobody can tell me what we do want on this property.
So I'm going to have the other trustees speak to that, okay? So just by trustee Woodside, do you have any comments or questions?
I do appreciate the work that was put into this, and the presentation tonight is much better than the presentation that was given to me in the packet. I think you've done some good work here. I am concerned about the comprehensive use plan and the vision, the dream, as you put it, for this property, but I'm also open to adjusting that to the reality of this property has been undeveloped for a very long time. So I appreciate the work you put into this. I look at this with an open mind, but I would be looking for some change in the comprehensive use plan and a favorable opinion from the PZB.
Well, thank you, because I think the comprehensive plan does follow some of the parameters that we're trying to come forth with. I mean, I could read these all to you. I don't know if you want to wait for that, but I mean, there is a ton of exposure here in this comp plan that says this is potentially what is good along the 94 corridor, and it brings all these jobs and all these revenues, and we just look the other way and say, no, not today. I mean, I don't understand. It calls for promote the growth and redevelopment of office industrial sites. It calls for actively marketing vacant properties for promotion in businesses and developers, decrease reliance on retail employment, and increase employment in professional office and industrial sectors. Gurnee can capitalize on marketplace trends in order to maintain, strengthen, and grow its office and industrial sectors, thereby achieving a health and resilient mix of tax revenue and employment opportunities. I mean, it just goes on and on in here on page after page. So, I mean, I didn't come to argue. I'm a little surprised that there's, your opinions are that adamant. It appears that you're not supportive whatsoever on this project. I mean, where do we go from here?
I still have one more trustee, so wait till we get to that part. So trustee Balmas?
Well, I appreciate that all of this property is there and needs to be developed. Probably what we all want to see, Danny, is, you know, a farm field with a barn and growing crops. I'm kidding. It's really hard to look at this. I get where you're coming from as far as retail. It's just not going to cut it anymore. That it's, and everyone's still ordering online and they're not walking in. So I get that aspect of it. And it's a concern for me. I'm not quite sure the traffic pattern here, getting in and out of this site with semis and that is a concern for me too, especially I'm guessing that access is just off of Washington Street with the semis. Is that?
There's access on 21 across from Wood Lake, and the traffic comes directly onto 21 when they're southbound. They'll have to go to 120 and get on 94 south to Chicago. But right there is the ramp which borders this property that curves around on the south side. That's the entrance to the northbound ramp.
Yeah.
So the traffic is within feet. So the other traffic, and it all goes south and north. And there's no traffic coming through the village of Gurnee. And there are county roads and a state road.
Well, you'd still have to get off of 120 to get onto 21. That's bringing a lot of semis that nobody wants to see. And it's hard to look at these big buildings like that. You know, when it's remote, you know, like off a tri-state, you know, you're not visually seeing them. It's not like a main thoroughfare as 21 in Washington is. And we already know that we have traffic backup for Six Flags along there too. I respect the issue that you have. It's just hard to look at this and not respect what the residents view for this. And, you know, the saying has always been, if you don't like it, you buy up the property and do whatever you want. But
And we did that. We bought it 40 years ago, and a lot of it since.
somewhat.
But we can't do what we want.
I respect that, and I have a hard issue with this, because I understand where you're coming from, that you purchased this to put up and to utilize and it certainly would be better than apartment complex, I think. It's a hard one, but I would have to also defer to our planning commission to really look at it to see what was going to be best for this. You know, it just, those big buildings, and what happens if they're not occupied then? You know, then we're stuck with this big empty space.
I'm not sure even the board is aware that that over the last year, 4 major developers equal to the size of Bridge Development approached me to do exactly the same thing of a like-kind development. There's a high demand for this type of product in this area, and they offer all kinds of revenue for the villages and the schools, and they ask for any tax abatements, no real revenue bonds, and we can't accommodate even consideration of such a project and send them away, and then we're going to wait now for 5 to 10 years and see if something better comes along?
I understand completely. It's just hard to look at these big buildings in that spot. I don't.
They're adjacent to the Grand Tri-State Industrial Park, right on the corner. It's almost contiguous.
Well, it's not quite.
All the buildings of that size and that nature are filled completely. Abbott's on the other, Venture One did a development for Abbott in the Grand Tri-State Industrial Park, and the other building is the same. They're all similar sizes. They're no bigger than the buildings in the Grand Tri-State Park.
I mean, I look at that Amazon building and the Uline building north of the border, and they're just gigantic.
They're 5 times the size of these. These buildings we have in our community already.
So those buildings, and I can talk a little bit to a couple of the concerns, those buildings across the border are 5 times the size of these buildings each. Those are massive cross-dock building designed for high throughput distribution. These are buildings that are designed to be leased to smaller users, to be multi-tenanted, to be less trucking intensive and less distribution intensive. We've been the largest developer in Lake County, you know, in the last 10 years. We built a business park in Waukegan. It's about 3.5 million square feet. Tony led that entitlements in 2014, and we've kind of finished it through from there. What we find when we design buildings like this, and everything is obviously on a speculative basis, but we find the users are much more value add, meaning more jobs, more manufacturing, more packaging going on inside of the buildings, and less heavy distribution. What that also leads to is less truck traffic. And you see much more car and box trucks than semis and 53-footers. So obviously, you know, everything's done on a speculative basis, and we can't identify a tenant because we don't have them, but Grand Tri-State is full, and we think it's gonna be tenants like Abbott Labs, you know, like Visual Pack, who's doing contract packaging, you know, for SC Johnson with, you know, multiple lines, and not getting a lot of semi-trucks. So obviously, you know, I think we don't think it'll be as intensive as maybe it would appear on a piece of paper.
Thank you. So I think you've heard from the board. If there's somebody else that would like to testify on behalf of this or against that, then.
Trustee Hood?
Again, this is meant to be, this is informal, so it's not really a testimony. It's just if you have comments, that's fine.
Mayor?
Yes.
If I could ask, is it possible, and then I'll see it over, but if we're going to look at redevelopment, is it possible to say then, no semis? You said no, okay, and is it possible to have either fewer buildings or smaller buildings?
Yeah, we would be open to that. I think what we'd love is some guidance on what that would mean, though. I mean, I can tell you, we can't do more than 4 buildings on here. They need to be at least 100,000 square feet, and would ideally do absolutely no more than 3. We have a 3-building plan with less retail that we like, but I think it didn't kind of give the village everything we would have needed. So we went with this instead to get the retail area up, but we could certainly look into that if there was some guidelines on how to do so.
Guidelines on making the industrial part of it smaller?
Of what building sizes would be the minimum size we would have to do, because we really can't build buildings smaller than 100,000 square feet. So each of those industrial buildings can't be, you could cut those in half, basically, and do 4 buildings.
Would it be the same square footage in total?
Yes, yeah, it'd be a little bit less, because there'd be setbacks and drive-throughs. You'd see more docks along Washington Street, but we could
And saying no semis is a non-starter?
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Christensen?
Glenn Christensen. I've been doing a little consulting for both parties here. I'm actually kind of responsible for putting them both together. I think I'm here, again, as a consultant and as a Gurney resident. I know there's the concern about the size of the buildings. This plan you see here is a work in progress. We heard your concerns and made some shifts, some changes. And if you do look, I don't know how well you can see it there, but we're on this particular plan, the southeast corner has some woodland preservation, and there's additional land that offers a lot of places for landscaping and berming. And it's really tough when you look at a plan like this. It looks overwhelming when you're looking down on it. But I think if you get into a car while you're traveling, I think the angles take away from the size of the building, and surely the landscaping will help screen a lot of this. So it's really not that large of a thing once you're traveling on the roads. Concerns about the traffic. Jeannie, you know, we go through this all the time. Bridge will have their traffic consultants. We got to talk to Lake Dot, IDOT. They all provide the permits. Everything's got to be in order. Your consultants are going to review it. They'll do what they have to do to make it work. And that'll be with the traffic improvements on 21 and/or Washington Street. Going back to the comprehensive plan, unfortunately, the plan didn't designate any particular land use for this site as to the type of category. It said it was a special area. I think it's a great plan. Motel, mixed use, congregation area, very similar to what Rosemont has. And I think it'd be very good for Gurnee. Quite frankly, I think it's in the wrong place. I think it should be at Gurnee Mills as part of their redevelopment when that happens, and I'm sure it will happen. I think all you have to do is look down the street in Vernon Hills. You got Melody Farms came in with 300 units, smaller outlots, a lot of activity, smaller buildings. And then across the street now, they're under construction now with a $250 million improvement to Hawthorne. And a lot of that includes residential. I don't believe any of the people that would occupy this particular piece under the comp plan would want to be on this side of Six Flags. Everybody wants to be on Grand Avenue. So I think you've got a situation here where, and if you read the text of the comp plan, it talks about vacant industrial property should be encouraged to be developed. There is no vacant industrial property. This is the only piece, quite frankly, in Gurnee. And I think this land use is appropriate for this. Obviously, Danny's touched on the tax base is incredible for the school districts. I mean, you've had the high school that couldn't pass a referendum, and our initial looks at it looked like about $370,000 a year just to the high school district. Another $500,000 to District 56. And again, it's a situation where if this happens, you've got a lot of activity that'll happen in the area. Danny and I have talked to a lot of people in the area, a lot of businesses. They're excited about this. They see a real impact to the other shopping centers on the opposite corners would help them. And that in turn will help the village with the tax base. And lastly, it's maybe a regional issue as well. We've seen everybody moving north to Wisconsin. Let's keep the business in Illinois. Let's keep the employment here in Illinois and keep the employment base close. That's all I have at this point.
Glenn, is that 56?
Yes,
That's not 50?
it's 56, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen.
Thank you.
Mr. Depke?
Sean Depke. I've known this man for 50 years. He's been a pillar of the community. He's always tried to put his best foot forward, like but sometimes it doesn't come out that way. And I hear from a couple members tonight, they don't like it, they don't like this, they don't like this. And he's been working on this for years. I've known it for years. I've got a lot of business property in Gurnee, and I've got a lot of residential property in Gurnee. Now, man's trying to do something here. He's been putting this together for years, and from my understanding, there was, yeah, okay, and now tonight, it sounds like a couple board members, the newer board members, whatever, say no, that you're right. I got no problem with it. The old mayor was here, she's gone. You know, she was going to have some big thing like Libertyville Complex Center out there. You know, we all know Libertyville Complex Center. I think that's on the verge of bankruptcy now, if I've got my facts and figures straight here on that. So the man's trying to do something to help Gurnee, build something nice. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's across from Great America. Who wants to build business by Great America? It's loud. It's noisy. I think you're being pretty tough on this gentleman, and he's cut down a lot of what he's wanting to do, and I think you're being, to tell him to go put something else in there. You know, all right, let him sell it for houses. Let him put 500 or 600 more houses and apartments and condos in there, and let him pay it to schools. Then see what you're going to get. You're going to have more problems than ever. No kids. What a great concept. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Pasolino.
Hello. I'm Joe Pasolino. I'm the owner of Saratoga Square across the street, across 21. And I am not for or against this property. I want to tell you that because I don't know that much about it other than I've studied in the last week. But I will give you some perspective. Retail is shot, at least not along Grand Avenue. Grand Avenue, yes, you're going to have it, okay, of course. But I have Saratoga Square right across the street, across 21. And we've never really been a true retail center. It's always been services and offices and businesses, and that's what's kept us afloat for over 30 years. And I don't think I see any difference in that direction, the way the world's going right now. And I will give you some perspective. Back about 25 years ago, I set up this same microphone. I had a contract with the Pritzkers to buy 10 acres across from Heather Ridge, which was, she was trying to do, Penny Pritzker was trying to do after our meeting, a luxury apartment complex there. But somehow they shut it down. So today we have a office condo, one building there, which takes up maybe 10% of the property. And now we have the new fire department, I understand, building behind there. The rest of the 30 acres has not been developed. This is almost 25 to 30 years ago. So I do agree that if we're going to wait for the perfect solution, I don't think so. God helps those who help themselves. And I do believe that, I don't know if it's a perfect thing, and I doubt it's perfect. There's nothing perfect. However, I do believe that it could bring in jobs. It could bring in some people buying sandwiches, retail, et cetera, and so forth. I did go by Bridge Development. I go over there every week. I'd go up Milwaukee Avenue from my house. And I saw today Bridge has a big development on the west side of Milwaukee Avenue there with buildings of this size, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of traffic coming in and out of there. Now, of course, I haven't sat there for an hour to see, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of action. I think it's hit or miss coming. Now, they can't tell you who's going to rent there. So that's kind of an unknown, and I understand where your perhaps apprehension is there, because we don't know the exact type of renters that are going to be there and the exact type of traffic. So that's kind of an unknown. I think Bridge has done a good job with what they've done, no doubt. So I just want to say that whether I'm not for or against, but I want everybody to keep an open mind because times have been changing, okay? And they will continue to change. So I think that the dream of having a minor league baseball field there or some sort of a great entertainment thing there, I don't know that's going to happen in the foreseeable future. So the tax revenue part is important to the village, and I think you guys should seriously consider that as long as you keep the parameters of the property within what you consider being a good neighbor sort of thing. So that's all I can say, and God bless.
Thanks, Mr. Pasolino. Ma'am? Please state your name.
Good evening, dear valued community members, elected officials, and law enforcement. My name is Miriam Jeanette Argueta, and first, I'm a treasured member of the community in Lake County, Illinois, since 1994. I'm also a resident of Gurnee. I have many ideas and initiatives that I am working and will implement soon. In addition, I'm also the Lake County Health Department Governing Council Secretary. Issues like mental health, women and children's health, as well as equal access, excuse me, for all on health insurance are very important to me.
Ma'am, I don't want to interrupt you, but are you making a statement on behalf of this group or against this group?
I will get to that shortly,
Okay.
with all due respect. In addition, and quite ironically, Allie O'Brien, I'm also the CEO of Build to Empower Corporation, an enterprise that focuses on vetting candidates out to have meaningful conversations and powerful conversations with no need to waste precious time. I'm a skilled intermediary bringing employers and employees together. So to pick up on that initiative at CLC, which I am personally a graduate of, I see opportunity to align and help build and empower the village of Gurnee together. To finish things up, I like to say, to quote Elon Musk, when he says, businesses get paid in relation to the complex problems we solve for society. With that being said, Build to Empower will make its debut by the end of Q3. And to tag along on this issue with Bridge Development Partners, as a resident, I do see, and I agree, I concur with the trustees. I'm a little hesitant. It would create a lot of problems, but I do work from home, so I could overcome those problems. As an enterprise and business owner, I do see the vision. This could potentially make Gurnee a logistic hub that could potentially drive more revenue for our city. Furthermore, with online shopping, the logistics of goods is in high demand. I see the vision Bridge Development Partners have. And to drive this point home, I would like to point out that there is a virtual shift of socioeconomic reconfiguration happening right now. Okay, case in point, we have Uber, okay, largest taxi company in the world, doesn't own any cars. We have Airbnb, largest hotel conglomerate, doesn't own any properties. We have, let's see, there's a shift happening in society of tangible versus intangible. And as part of the village of Gurnee, we have to anticipate these new emergences in society. We have to be avant-garde and see things coming so we can rise to the occasion, meet the challenge, and live better lives in a community at Village of Gurnee. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so looking to wrap up, Mr. Rydell, I think you asked one thing as far as what's the next step, and I think the purpose of tonight was that you'd be able to hear from each of the village board members to hear what their thoughts were. Part of it is so that if it seemed more negative or more positive, that you'd know what your next direction would want to be with your group. My observation was more negative, similar to the Plan Commission, but that doesn't stop you from going back to the Plan Commission and formally going through that process. It just wouldn't seem to be fruitful necessarily, but it doesn't mean you can't redesign what you've done. I think you've heard some comments about some different ways of maybe approaching it, but the next step would be back to the Plan Commission or just not to go forward at all. It would seem like, based on what I've heard tonight.
The board looking for a revision of this plan? Mr. Robinson to speak a moment, is that okay?
Okay?
Sure.
I'm going to take my mask off because it's a little easier to talk that way. Dan Robinson, former resident of Gurnee, and I'm going to speak briefly from my profession as an architect, an old architect. Briefly about your comprehensive plan, Glenn touched on it a little bit. The language in your comprehensive plan is not quite in sync with your comprehensive plan map, and to rely on either one of those with an iron fist, I think, is a mistake because it's really a tool. It's a design and planning tool, and you should approach it that way. I wouldn't rely on the concept sketches that are on your map. They're just concept sketches. And frankly, commercial real estate over the last 4 years has dropped 3 or 4%, and it's likely to drop more. So you might be betting on the wrong horse if that's your plan for the future. My second comment would be more based on architecture, because that's really my primary profession. I do plan reviews for municipalities. I've done a lot of plan reviews of large developments like this, and I've heard a lot of comments that these are really big buildings. In the world of buildings, they're frankly not really big buildings. There's a lot of buildings that are a lot bigger than these, and how you treat them architecturally and how you treat them by site design and how you treat them by landscaping can go a long way to turn these buildings into something that not only from a business perspective can be a real value to your community, but also from an architectural perspective and a land use perspective. And I'm speaking from experience because I've done it before and I've reviewed it before. I'll shut up now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Robeson. So I think that we've given an opportunity for you guys to present, and we just thank you tonight for the opportunity to hear what you've had to say. And you can certainly talk offline with me if you'd like, and help you with some further direction. So, thank you.
Is it the intention of the board that this project, I guess you would call it just tabled, or it's not tabled, it's basically rejected from what I can hear? So on what basis do we reject this? Because we don't envision this property this way? What do we envision, but nobody tells anybody?
So
The comp
I'm
plan
not,
be
that's
parallel.
why I'd want to take it offline. It's not intended to be an argument with you, Mr. Rydell. I think this is meant to be informal and to give you an idea as to where we were at. That was the purpose. It's not a formal action. We're not providing specific direction or detail. We don't want to. You heard some of the indecision on parts of the board members, and other members were more tough or more decided on where they were going. So if you'd like to talk to me more offline, I'm really open to that. So I appreciate that.
These gentlemen are here, willing, able, capable, want nothing from you, and we send them away because we don't like what this envisions. Is that correct?
So, Mr. Rydell, like I said, I'd like to take this offline, so that's...
Can I ask one question or a favor? I think what Dan's trying to ask and what we're trying to get a grasp of is, we are willing to change this. None of this is obviously set in stone, which is, I think, like you said, Mayor Hood, why this is informal. Is there any direction that any of the trustees would have for us as to what they would like to see, size-wise, area-wise, from an industrial perspective, so that as we go back to the drawing board and start to change this, we have a little bit of guidance? Because I think what we're looking for is guidance.
Right, so I think that if you went member by member, that won't necessarily be productive. Like I said, if I could come back with you offline, I'd be happy to speak with you and also with staff to see if there is something that fits that. I just think tonight you'd get 5 or 6 different opinions. I don't know that would be helpful in sending you off into one direction or another. So, sure.
Can I
Trustee
ask-
Balmas?
Is this the plan that was presented to the Planning Commission?
No, it was the prior one.
So
Right.
it is the prior one. So you've made some substantial redirection already in this.
Absolutely.
We did everything we could to accommodate the information that we received, even from staff
So-
recommended we put commercial on Washington Street. We did that. We moved the buildings. We added landscaping, and we added a mixed-use development in front that's almost 10 acres. And it could be used for any variety of different products. I mean, it could be one user, it could be a monster hotel, it could be a 4 drive-up stations, but I mean, it's a bigger piece, and that's a presentation. That will hide the buildings behind it, and on the tollway, I mean, it's a visual thing from the tollway. I don't know how that abuses anybody in the village.
I mean, as I listened to Glenn and Dan, the perspective, is better. And maybe even instead of 2 huge buildings, maybe, as Trustee O'Brien already pointed out, maybe, cutting it so it's not as like a big building or.
So with the balance, do we build retail? I mean, it's.
No, I don't, I get retail is dead. I mean, if you want to keep that acreage that maybe you could get a restaurant in or whatever, hotel, whatever, keep that there, but cut down, instead of 2 huge ones, maybe 3. But I think you've already made some work to go back to the planning commission that might be more, because and again, I don't see any of the trees, you know, the landscaping built into this that might make a better presentation.
Dave, if you go down a couple slides just to the, right there. You know, this was an old rendering. These cost a lot of money to do, and we didn't have the time to get it done of the current plan, but, you know, you can kind of see our vision with how they would be landscaped, how they would be set back, how much glass you would see. So we are really trying. Obviously, you can see the tree preservation area on the south, and it's moving. So, you know, we did try, we're trying to show that it's just, you know, that costs a lot of money to do
And
most.
I appreciate that. And, you know, seeing something like that, you know, the fact that all the semis and that are actually interior as opposed to exterior, I just think there has to be a better way to present this to make it more amenable for us, you know, and I hate to have you go through a lot of expenses, but you gotta go through the expenses.
No, we're happy to do it. I don't say
You
it
know,
for that.
to show me the actual street lights, how it's going to be accessible, getting in and out of this. I mean, I'm concerned about being accessed across from the entrance to the apartment complex, because that's like smack onto the stoplight at Washington and 21, that all of a sudden you have a semi pulling in right there. I mean, I get where you're coming from, and maybe I'm a little less
Mayor?
opposed to it.
There's 4 other developers, I mentioned, equal to the size of these gentlemen in size of the developments they do. There's a high demand for this type of use in this area.
No.
So we're turning them away, so it stigmatizes the property. They won't be around either.
I get that, you make that clear to me, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate that you've put a lot of money into this. You're gonna call this Potterville, by the way, for the farm? No, kidding.
That's my building.
Okay, so trustee O'Brien.
Thank you. I really actually wanted to first start by thanking everyone who gave public comment. It mattered quite a bit to me. When I first started my statement, I said thank you, and the thank you was for actually the changes you have already made. To Mr. Robinson's point, that if there's a way to make it smaller buildings, but make the facades look more architecturally significant, something that we can be proud of and something that's different. I know the traffic is also a concern, and so of course you're going to do traffic studies on that. But as of right now, that really, it does look like an industrial building, and the ones on Waukegan Road look more like just Lego blocks thrown in there with maybe a little bit of two-tone colors or something to that effect. But if there was some way maybe to represent this and make it just something that people could drive by and say, that's a cool building that's in the middle of our town, it might make a difference. To the other ones that say the changing environment of our world, it's a possibility, but right now they just look like big square boxes thrown in a really visible spot. And so I'm sure architecture and landscaping might go a long way when it goes in front of the PZB.
Yeah, and I would tell you, there's definitely some, you know, these are upgraded buildings, we can continue to upgrade them. I think there's, you know, different stuff we can do. You know, our competitors in the city of Chicago have worked with the local community schools to paint big murals on the sides of the building, you know, community is a part of some of that landscaping sort of stuff. So I mean, there's certainly stuff we can do to upgrade the image. I think, you know, and we're happy to spend that money and do that with glass and different stuff like that. So yeah, we can look into that.
All right.
Thanks,
So,
Mayor.
thank you. Thank you for your presentation tonight. All right. Next thing up is public comment. Anybody would like to make a public comment? There being none, we're going to adjourn to executive session under exception.
Yes, basically it'd be appropriate for the board to make a motion. We would need a roll call. There's two items that fit within the exemptions of the Open Meetings Act. The first is exemption C21 as part of the semi-annual review of executive session minutes, and then also under exemption C1 to review compensation and performance for specific employees. So we need a motion to that effect.
So is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Balmas, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
So there'll be no further action taken after this. We'll just reconvene to adjourn the meeting. So you may be excused if you'd like, or wait for us to do this. Okay.
Thorstensen.
Here.
Woodside. Here. Ross.
Here.
5 present.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Trustee Balmas, who was second? Trustee Thorstensen? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Boom.